My parents made me invite my sister, the one who slept with my ex, to my wedding. So I invited the end they all betrayed, and every family secret came crashing down. My name is Ethan, and I was supposed to have the happiest day of my life. My wedding to Leela had been planned down to the smallest detail: the flowers, the cake, the playlist, even the seating chart. Everything was perfect. Or at least, that's what I believed. That was before my parents decided to insert chaos into my life. "Ethan," my mom said one evening, her voice trembling with that fake concern she always perfected, "you have to invite your sister, Sophie. It's a family event." She's family. Family. Sophie, the same sister who had betrayed me in the worst way imaginable. The same sister who had slept with my ex-boyfriend, Ryan, and humiliated me in ways I still felt in my chest. She had broken trust, laughed behind my back, and yet, somehow, my parents expected me to smile and welcome her to my wedding. I froze. "Mom, she betrayed me. She humiliated me. And now you want her at my wedding?" My dad, ever the stoic one, nodded. "It doesn't matter. Family comes first. Invite her, Ethan. That's final." I wanted to scream. I wanted to cancel the wedding altogether. But then I looked at Leela. Her eyes were bright, full of hope and excitement. She had waited for this day, dreamed of this day, and nothing, not betrayal, not family drama, would take that away from her. So I relented. I sent the invitation. The days that followed were torture. Every time I imagined Sophie arriving, I felt my stomach twist. I could see her smirking, whispering, laughing quietly while I stood there forced to act polite. The thought of her presence tainted my sanctuary. My wedding, the one place I wanted to feel joy. And then an idea hit me like a bolt of lightning. My Aunt Margaret, estranged from the family for years after my parents had kicked her out of the inheritance, blaming her for scandals she didn't commit, she harbored a righteous anger that could level walls. She knew their secrets, every lie, every betrayal, and she hated them for it. I dialed her number, heart racing. "Aunt Margaret, I need you at my wedding, but you have to come prepared. Things are going to get complicated." She laughed deep, knowing, dangerous. "Ethan, I've been waiting for this moment for decades. Don't worry, I'll handle it." And so the stage was set. The night of the wedding arrived. The hall was glowing with white roses, soft candlelight flickering on the tables. A jazz trio played, their melodies soothing the nerves of the guests. Leela looked radiant, glowing in her dress, and I felt a pang of relief, if only for a moment. Then Sophie arrived. She entered like she owned the place, the queen of arrogance in heels. Her smile was sharp, confident, and utterly infuriating. My blood pressure spiked, my jaw clenched, but I forced myself to breathe. And then Aunt Margaret walked in. She was breathtaking, tall, elegant, and carrying herself like a storm that had been waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Her eyes scanned the room, locking onto Sophie and my parents. A smirk curved her lips, calm and deliberate. I could feel the tension in the room shift as if the air had thickened. That was when I knew the fun was about to begin. Margaret moved gracefully through the crowd, discreetly handing out envelopes to certain guests, whispering to them, exchanging knowing glances. My parents noticed, their whispers sharp with concern, but Margaret waved them off with a single flick of her hand, commanding, untouchable. It was like watching a hurricane approach. Silent, inevitable, and devastating. By the time the ceremony began, murmurs had spread like wildfire. Some guests were curious, others shocked, some openly amused. And Sophie's confident smile began to falter. Her carefully maintained armor was cracking under Margaret's quiet but potent influence. Margaret had the receipts, old emails, incriminating screenshots, letters, and photographs, every lie my parents had buried, every betrayal they had tried to hide, all now being subtly shared with the people who mattered most. Nothing was left untouched, and she was delivering it with such grace and precision that the room was unaware of just how lethal the unfolding chaos really was. I didn't have to lift a finger. I just watched as my wedding transformed into the perfect stage for truth. A day that should have been simple, perfect and joyful became a masterclass in consequences, exposure, and justice, and in the center of it all, I finally felt calm. I knew exactly what I was doing, exactly how the night would play out, and that for once, Sophie and my parents would have to face the very chaos they had created. By the time the reception began, the carefully curated whispers had grown into a low hum of speculation, and that hum quickly erupted into chaos. Guests whispered in corners, comparing notes, passing envelopes to each other, and asking questions that my parents could no longer dodge. Drinks trembled in hands, champagne glasses clinked nervously, and forks paused mid-air. Sophie, once untouchable in her arrogance, now looked like a deer caught in headlights. Her perfectly poised faud cracked, and I could see sweat forming at her temples as she tried to force a polite smile. Margaret leaned close and whispered in my ear, her voice laced with amusement and vindication. "This is just the beginning. Ethan, just wait." Her words made my pulse quicken. Timing was everything, and she had orchestrated this perfectly. My parents, usually masters of composure, were cornered. Their faces burned red as distant relatives and old family friends began bringing up long-buried betrayals. Stories emerged of embezzlement, affairs, and manipulations my parents had swept under the rug for years, each revelation landing like a thunderclap in the ornate hall. The room buzzed with incredulous chatter as Aunt Margaret, ever calm and composed, ensured every secret found its proper audience. Sophie attempted to speak. I can explain," she stammered, her voice shaking, but no one was listening. The charm she had once wielded effortlessly was gone. Every lie she had relied upon, every whispered excuse, had been stripped away, leaving her exposed for all to see. People who had once envied her now looked at her with pity and shock. The power she thought she held had evaporated in the blink of an eye. I glanced at Leela. Her eyes were wide, sparkling with a mix of triumph and disbelief, her hand gripping mine tightly. "I knew you had a plan," she whispered. I gave her a faint smile. I couldn't let her ruin today. The evening stretched on, each revelation more explosive than the last. Margaret's envelopes continued to circulate discreetly, revealing long-kept family secrets, old financial misdeeds, backstabbing between relatives, and every time someone opened a new one, the tension in the room thickened. My parents' polite nods and rehearsed apologies turned into public confessions. Forced by the undeniable evidence laid out before them, Sophie shrank further, her usual confidence replaced with embarrassment, shame, and a creeping realization she had no allies. Even friends who had once supported her in subtle ways now avoided her gaze. The crowd's laughter, mingled with whispers and gasps, served as the soundtrack to her downfall. Margaret finally turned to me, her eyes twinkling with satisfaction. "Family loyalty means nothing if they don't deserve it," she said. "And you handled it perfectly, Ethan." I nodded, feeling a strange calm wash over me. The wedding, despite the chaos and revelations, went on. Leela and I exchanged vows that felt deeper than ever, triumphant, honest, and free from the shadows that had loomed over my family for so long. The crowd, buzzing with the drama of exposed secrets, became an unlikely audience to a real, sincere union, one that had weathered storms even before the first kiss was sealed. Outside the hall, the night air was crisp. Laughter and whispered recaps of the events inside mingled with the soft hum of the city lights. I held Leela close, feeling her head rest against my shoulder. "I've never seen anyone handle betrayal like that," she murmured. I chuckled softly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Some lessons take a wedding to teach," I replied as we drove away from the hall. The glow of city lights reflected in our rearview mirror, and I realized something important. Sophie, my parents, anyone who thought they could manipulate me, they had all learned the hard way. Some betrayals carry consequences, and some family secrets are simply too explosive to remain hidden forever. The night wasn't about revenge in the traditional sense. It was about truth. It was about letting the reality of their actions speak louder than any argument, confrontation, or shouting match could. And for the first time in years, I felt entirely at peace knowing that the family that had tried to control me had been exposed, and that my wedding, my marriage, and my future were untouchable. Sometimes, the most powerful retribution isn't rage or confrontation, it's allowing the truth to rise, unmasked and unstoppable, in front of everyone who ever doubted you.